When you think about a vulnerability, it is a potential exploit on something, and we're going to stick with cyber. So it's likely a cyber asset, something that you can reach with an IP address, something that's got a blinking light, whatever it is. But let's consider that a piece of surface, right? It literally is a piece of surface. But a vulnerability management program doesn't really consider it as a piece of surface. It considers it as an asset independently. And we don't understand how it necessarily interplays with the other parts of your environment. And the environment is people and process and technology at this point. So we don't understand how it interplays necessarily, but we'll figure it out when we have to address a vulnerability. And I understand why people get here, and it's an evolution. So when the vulnerability comes in, they assess to see whether it's important enough to fix. If it is, they fix it, and then they confirm it's fixed, and they move on to the next one on the list. But it is more proactive than incident management, but it is less proactive as attack surface management. And now the difference for me anyways, is attack surface management is understanding everything that is facing the inside and outside worlds that is of a cyber nature. And that is everything, because as we expand the surface through IoT, all these devices, BYOD, the network barriers have been broken down. So all of this surface is now proliferated, and it's very expansive. So that's the difference in a concept. And before I go any further, Alan, I don't know how you have any ideas on that as well.
I think your point about the interconnectedness is really important, because attacks work in stages. I think that's fairly well accepted now. So understanding how like an exposed Citrix server that might be vulnerable connects to the internal network, which connects to the Active Directory domain controller, which will then be exploited by a threat actor, again, whether it's nation state or a cyber criminal, and really understanding how one vulnerability here that's unpatched can lead to the exploitation of your entire network, data being stolen, and everything else that could possibly go wrong, is, I think, a big part of that attack surface management process.
I mentioned it was people, process, and technology, and I'm not going to go too far down the future-looking area, but I think you'll find that in the future, people will be considered part of the attack surface as well. And they are now informally, but when you think about what phishing really is a human attack surface, because they're, preying on psychological attributes, willingness, or, the fear of missing out. I need to be able to understand what's behind that link, and then it works. And that's not a technology, that's not a cyber surface, that is a human surface. So attack surface management is really about understanding everything that can penetrate that veil. And when we think about that, now we can start to design what is our response for these different elements within an attack surface. And certainly we're more proficient at the technology pieces, and it's probably the right priority, because we are an avenue into technology, so they really want what the technology will give us. So I think that if we consider that, and then we can prioritize, and this is the other premise that I think is important for attack surface management, is prioritize what you need to define. So yes, you've got thousands or tens of thousands of these IT assets. You don't have to do it all at once, but start somewhere where you, using gut instinct or some intelligence, some data, what are your most critical assets? And I'll call those human processes and technology again. And if we identify those, and let's get a model in place that helps us articulate, inventory, identify what the interrelationships are within the attack surface, and then we can expand that. Because once we trust a model allows us to identify it and protect it, then we have confidence that it really doesn't matter how big the attack surface gets, but things to get on our surface now have to go through some sort of governance in order to become part of our surface. Vulnerability management assumes you already have done some sort of a calculation. But as we also have described, is that risk changes. It changes in the context of the outside world and the inside world. So I believe that once we get into attack surface management, it goes beyond the traditional vulnerability management solutions, which are technology-based, and there's a small, business unit responsible for that. But when we think about attack surface management, now we're including a lot of other functions. It could be the IT function, asset management function, HR function. Like, a lot of these functions now need to feed into attack surface management. The benefit to the organization, if they focus on this, is that you will have a better understanding that will support many of the other functions. You will have intelligence around context that will support a strategy. You'll have context information around things that will talk about budgetary investment. And these things are not possible if you don't think about it in sort of an attack surface management.